Now we will discuss class inclusion theory. Class inclusion theory refers to the ability to classify objects into two or more categories simultaneously. For example, the ability to recognize that large categories such as cars include smaller subcategories such as blue cars or red cars or different manufacturers. Class is basically a set or group of elements or things. A basic relation of class is that of the inclusion of one class within another. For example, A class is included in B when all the elements of A are the elements of B. Three operations work in this process. One is union, second is intersect, and the third is complement. The two classes, for example, the class of union is with the two classes X and Y are of a class where all the elements of X or Y are either in X or in Y. The intersect of two classes X or Y is the class of all elements in X and Y. The complement of X is the class where all the elements are not in the class X. We will now discuss other factors which contribute in the inclusion of classes and the components which become part of different included classes. So we look at the class inclusion theory and see what are the information with regard to metaphors. And since metaphors are also considered as class inclusion statements. Glucksberg and his colleagues, they proposed this model which states that metaphors are class inclusion statement. So look at these two examples. Now to determine whether either of these sentences is true, which is my job is a jail, all dogs are animal, we must retrieve the lexical representation of the appropriate nouns and assess where the class inclusion relation is applied appropriately or not. But the question arises that how can we assess this relation if the statement is not literally true? So according to Glucksberg, the term jail belongs not to just one but to several different subordinate categories. Subordinate. So in order to assess that, we must understand that jail belongs not to just one but several different subordinate categories. Now if you look at another example where we can say that the container held the apple, the container held the cola. This particular example, most people develop a concrete meaning along the lines of basket. In this, we envision something closer to bottle or glass. Now, in either case, we seem to identifying general term with specific meaning process, which is known as instantiation. Process of instantiation. This can account for the fact that metaphors are non-reversible. Now we can say my job is a jail, but it does not make sense to say my jail is a job. So moreover, if metaphor vehicle refers to abstract subordinate categories, then directing person's attention to the more literal basic level meaning should disrupt comprehension. So One of the attractive features of class inclusion model is that we do not have to posit any special features to explain metaphor and figurative language. So the treatment of figurative language emerges naturally from our understanding of how we assess the internal lexicon. Glucksberg believed that we understand metaphor much the way we understand literal speech, by retrieving information from lexicon, selecting the part that is relevant, and identifying a relationship between lexical representation and something that we have retrieved. To conclude, the class inclusion model is most helpful in connecting the study of figurative language with the field of language comprehension in general and lexical comprehension in particular.